Hey guys, what's up? We are back in Paraguay. As you can tell, we got back earlier this month from being in Canada for 2.5 months. We went to see my dad. He was ill. He ended up passing away from cancer while we were there. And I'm really glad that we got to spend his last days with him and say our goodbyes and then also go through the transition of that with the rest of my family. But that is not what this video is about. Let's get right into it. I have been told in the past that I should probably stick to noting the good of the country of Paraguay and life here as it is. And although it is a very freeing life here in Paraguay, I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. One of the biggest sticklers, I guess, to Paraguay is the corruption that takes place here. It starts right from the government, goes into the public and the authorities. It is all over the place. I'll be going over the different areas one can see corruption happening in day-to-day life here in Paraguay, as well as the ways that it holds back, the effects that it has on holding back the development of this country. And last but not least, the different ways that you can navigate while avoiding participating in the corruption. The first example I'd like to give is in health and safety, particularly when it comes to food handling certifications. Anyone in Paraguay that handles food for the purpose of resale is required to have an inspection and then receive a certification to do so. And it is obvious that most of these facilities that the food is made in or sold out of would never pass inspections. They're not quite as stringent on the facility itself as maybe somewhere like Canada or any developed country, but they are just so vastly out of reach for passing inspections. Most of them did not obtain them upright or may not even have them at all. The one place they also are pretty invasive is when it comes to the medical checkups that the person obtaining or looking to obtain the certification has to go through. Now, when it comes to not obtaining the food handling certifications in the right manner, it drastically slows down the business for whoever does it, just does whatever they have to do to get it through without actually meeting inspection qualifications. With the food handling certifications, initially it does hinder the person trying to do it upright. It completely does. We just went through the process ourselves and it's a long one. It drags on. You have to be pushy. It slows you down from just opening your business and being able to make a revenue, as opposed to the other person who is just buying their way through around it, getting the certifications upright or getting it at all, and just opens the business and they start immediately going into business and kicking things off while this other person is taking a long time. Now, where this flips and it starts benefiting the person who went about it the right way, as opposed to the other person going around it, the person who did it the right way, their business will boom. And we see this right here along the highway of Campo Nueve. On the one side, there is a Mennonite-owned restaurant that has a nice clean facilities. Everybody is always ready for an inspection at any given time. While on the other side of the highway, you have all of these rundown facilities, or some of them are even just shacks that there's no way they could have passed inspections. And their customer base is very, very small and is very scarce. Sometimes they won't even have 3-4 tables full at one meal. You would expect for most countries for the police to at least be upright and to do their jobs according to the books, but not here in Paraguay. They absolutely love and have a field day when they can catch someone for the slightest little things and ticket them for it. Particularly, and I know I've mentioned this in one of my other videos, is not having your lights on even during the day while driving. Now, this in itself is not a problem that they require this. It is when they pull you over and then they say, I'll give you a discount if you pay it right here, right now. And most people, they will go ahead and take that offer. Now, the behavior that's pretty contradictory to this is when you're stopped there and they're trying to give you a ticket, is you're sitting there and then you see half a dozen motorcycles zipping by and they either don't have their lights on or worse even, have it broken right off. And a ton of these motorcycles, they will run around during the night with no light. And if you were to not have great headlights, which obviously you always should, but you might miss that they are even there, or when they're riding along the shoulder and you're going to turn off the highway, that could cause for a pretty serious situation. Now, when it comes to the tickets, I would very, very highly recommend just insist on being written an official ticket and if it's on a road where someone is frequenting, then they start recognizing the vehicle and eventually just stop pulling you over quite as easily, especially for just a random inspection, if they know that they're not going to get away with it. I did have someone make the comment that everybody should just completely stop taking the bribes or going for bribing the officer, which is the right idea, and everybody should be doing that. But this is not going to be the solution for stopping the highway patrol by bribery. It is going to have to be from within the system that is going to have to stop, because there's just no way to get an entire population to stop bribing someone to let them get off. Next up is infrastructures, particularly highways. There is a huge difference in Paraguay between going on a toll road and the quality of that versus a publicly owned road. When it comes to the quality of the toll roads, it is smooth sailing for hours. You will not have to slow down for cracks, bumps, or potholes, any of that. I would actually quite well compare it to, say, an interstate or even Canada's very best highways. Whereas Paraguay's publicly owned roads, they are full of potholes, especially in the swampy areas, and cracks here and there, even just a couple years down the road. The one highway in our area that comes to mind when it comes to quality or lack thereof is Caliro, that reaches from Campo Nueve to Tres Palmas. It has only been in use since 2020, and by 2022, when we got here, it already had multiple potholes, some of them reaching all across the lanes and pretty deep. If you were to all of a sudden miss it because you just came around a corner and ran right into it, your vehicle was going to have some pretty serious damage. Locals allege that the construction company failed to build the road up to the specifications that were laid out in the original bid to build the road by underpacking and laying down far too thin of a layer of asphalt. They further allege that inspectors allowed the highway to pass inspection regardless of the lack of quality in exchange for a portion of the savings that concurred because of the less material used. Now we're going to get straight into how corruption has taken away from the development of Paraguay. With the highways, in a case like this highway that is only now 4 years old, it is becoming a money pit as soon as you start to fix it in the short term by having to repair it all the time, or if they want to do a really good job, tear it all up and do it all over again, which costs a whole lot more money than it initially would have had it just been done up quality inspection regulations. Having to use such poor quality roads also hinders the people. The vehicles fall apart so much faster. We've experienced that for ourselves here, and it just slows them down so much when it comes to economic progress. Government employees also love getting bribed by people to get the process of, say, obtaining a cédula or permanent resident, whatever anyone might be trying to do, and trying to make it go faster that way. They will stretch it out and drag it on for way longer than it needs to and costing a whole lot more money than it has to. Now, I know this may sound like a lot, but trying to navigate all of this is really not that difficult unless you're someone who doesn't have terribly much patience, because that is the biggest thing that's going to be required, especially with the food handling certifications. Like I mentioned earlier, it took us like 4 months and constantly prying and calling the person that was helping us with it, always asking where is it at, how much longer. It's just really time consuming and daunting. Now with the paperwork process, we had to learn this the hard way. We had been working at it for months already, trying to do it on our own because that's what we were used to from living in Canada. You get to do all your government paperwork on your own, and it's not that terrible. But when it comes to being here, you really just want to hire someone to do this. But even here, you have to be really careful that that person isn't going to try to bribe you to get it done faster. The way to do this is make sure you hire someone that is a professional, hire someone that does it for a living and that has a really good reputation, not just someone that you meet here or there that says they know how to do it and they can help you. You want to look into the credibility of what they are saying. It is also very important to note not to ever pay anyone completely upfront when hiring someone to do your paperwork for you. I would never really want to pay more than a third up front, at the very most half, and then the remainder at the very end when you officially receive all your paperwork. Now, I hope this helps you to see a little bit into the day-to-day life in Paraguay, what the reality is, and a little bit on how to navigate it. depending on what life someone decides to live here. And if you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe, and feel free to share it with anyone else that you think might benefit. And I also do want to thank you so much for anyone who stuck around while I was absent. It is so much appreciated, and I hope to start right back up very consistently.